Hello, great people. Popular Pastor Paul Enenche, the founder of Dunamis International Gospel Center, has been accused of performing series of fake miracles by no other person than one of his former pastors, Abraham Daniel. And in a moment, I'll leave you to hear from Pastor Abraham Daniel himself to hear his narrative about how the church was allegedly performing fake miracles. Then when we come back, we'll be dissecting the issues. We'll be looking at the controversies and making a lot of meaning out of it for the congregation of the church, the pastors themselves, the community, and of course, Nigeria as a whole. And not left out, the Christian body. We'll be doing that and a whole lot more on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola. First, let us hear from the former pastor of Dunamis International Gospel Center, Abraham Daniel. Let's hear from him. Let's hear.
You've been a pastor under Enenche. We've heard about so many miracles, testimonies of this. The blind received the sight, the crippled walked, this one. At some point, in fact, I think what caused the latest fight between Enenche and Damina was when Damina made a post to raising clutches, new clutches, with a picture of Enenche, and it became a problem. So you've been there. And I know you as a very bold, vocal person who must have gone through some troubles because of the revelations you've been, given since you left the church. Tell us, these miracles, are they true? Have you witnessed any of them? Like, can you confidently, categorically state with every single iota of conviction in you that some of these miracles or all of them are real?
It's a very strong question, but I'll answer you. I will tell you, Captain, no. And it's with due respect to him and to Dunamis Church. I have nothing to lose or gain.
You're saying no, that the miracles are not real.
Are not real. They don't happen. Let me tell you, give you an instance. One major reason why I left is the frustration I had. After healing and deliverance service, we have more people that need healing than people that came for healing. I don't know whether you got me. After the healing service, you see people still want to see daddy for prayer.
I need to drink water.
Please drink water. People frustrated. You could see frustration. And as a pastor, because when daddy has gone, the wahala now is left for us because they have to meet us. Oh, pastor, please, I need to see daddy. I brought this person. I brought that person. And people, I'm like, whoa, where do I start from? Like, you could see pain.
So what you're saying is that the real people, the real sick people that were brought for healing do not receive healing, but then strangers receive healing. Is that what you're saying?
Now, you see, let me tell you something. When you're on the stage, it's different from reality. When you are in a crowded atmosphere, charged with, disco light and bam, 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 or the music is slow, your emotion is being tapped into. It's different ball game when the lights are off and you have to face reality. Now, most time when people, there's what I call environmental influence. For instance, if you are where Burna Boy or Davido or Michael Jackson is doing event and maybe you had malaria or maybe headache, you could be carried away with the dance. You won't even remember you had headache. It is after the whole thing when everybody make with the go house now. Like, what? This thing, they disturb me.
It's back.
That is when reality comes. Or maybe you are in a stadium and they say, a tiger is here. If you're not careful, a cripple will jump a fence. A cripple will jump a fence.
That is true.
A tiger is here, or a lion is here. People will do the unthinkable. Now, that is what I call the environmental effect. So when pastors or maybe Dr. Paul and is doing all of that, you see that emotion. So
there you have it. You just heard from a former pastor at Dunamis International Gospel Center, Abraham Daniel. Now, let me give you some perspective to this, what led to Daniel's outburst. Daniel and Pastor Paul Enenche have been at loggerheads, and also Paul Enenche is also at loggerheads with one of his relatives, Alexander Enenche. So, Abraham Daniel and Alexander Enenche were invited by the police for alleged cyberbullying, criminal defamation. They list all the offenses. And when they got to the police base in Abuja, they were detained. And this led to back and forth between the family of Abraham Daniel and that of Paul Enenche. And also within the family of Paul Enenche itself, there were also issues because Alexander Enenche, who happens to be one of his family, was also detained. Now, when they were released, because later they were released because they had an agreement that they would settle the matter amicably. So, despite all that, Daniel still came up with this outburst. Now, let us look at the controversies and the implication, and let's make meaning out of all these outbursts. First, what I think is that we can accept Daniel's statement as true because he is a former pastor at Dunamis Church and he has first-hand information, but also we cannot push his statement aside. So it's in two ways. As much as we can accept what he's saying as truth, same also, we cannot push his statement aside. So what I can say is it is God that knows best. But then, if we are to probe further, you see, we need to look at something very carefully because as much as Enenche, that is the founder of Dunamis, may not be a saint, Daniel himself that is making the revelation is not holy. So if Pastor Paul Enenche is not a saint, or if Pastor Paul Enenche is unholy, definitely then Daniel himself is not a saint. Because don't say because Daniel is coming out to make this outburst, then you will be sympathetic towards Daniel, assuming but not conceding that Pastor Paul Enenche was performing fake miracles as being alleged by Abraham Daniel. Now, the thing is that why is Daniel speaking at this point in time? Is it because there is a strained relationship between them based on the fact that they said that Paul Enenche breached a gentleman's agreement that they both had? What is the agreement? I don't know. The details of the agreement is not in public space. So why is Abraham Daniel speaking now after his fallout with Pastor Paul Enenche? That itself, it's an indictment on the personality of Daniel, because if he has a good relationship with Pastor Paul Enenche, definitely he wouldn't have said anything. So Daniel himself should have been under probe now, and he shouldn't be seen as a saint because he is only speaking because he has a fallout. So when they had good relationship, he himself was a beneficiary of the alleged fake miracles, in the sense that when fake miracles were allegedly being done and people were rejoicing that they have their healing, that itself is a form of marketing, because people will go to the street and start speaking good about the church, and the more they speak good about the church and they say, oh, this church is performing miracles, definitely people will troop in. The more people troop in, the more the offering, the more the tithe, and the more the expansion of the church. The more the church expands, the more the pastors will be comfortable. So Abraham Daniel himself is a beneficiary of the alleged wrongdoing. So we must not see him as a saint, in as much as we can take his word as something of substance because he's a former pastor in the church. But then again, we cannot totally take what he's saying because he's saying it out of their strained relationship. Now, let us look at something again. Abraham Daniel, how did he become a pastor in Dunamis Church? Because his look is not pastoral. His look is not pastoral, because people that usually have dreadlocks, some of them, they have it by the circumstance of their birth. Some of you will understand the people they usually call Dada, especially in Yoruba land. You know, they usually call people that come to the world with hair like dreadlocks, they call them Dada. Is this man's, the hair on this man's head, is it the one that is based on the circumstance of birth? Is it a Dada from birth, or it is man-made dreadlocks? Then, if it is the Dada that he has since he was born, the thing is that what spirituality could be attached to the dreadlock, which they call Dada, that he himself as a pastor could not have those shackles if he himself is a true pastor? Let us look at it from that regard, in the sense that if you are a pastor and you are born dada, and this look, the look of the man, it doesn't correspond with the nature of his job. If it is to fast and pray, is it that he can't fast and pray? Or is it in his nature to keep dreadlocks? And that itself puts into query the Dunamis church, that is this how your pastors appear? Do you allow your pastor to appear on dreadlock? There are some churches that allow it. For instance, one church by Taiwo Dukoya, something like that, the man is on dreadlock. So is it allowed in Dunamis? Or some of you that go to Dunamis church, of course, can speak more about it. You see, one thing I can say is fake miracles are many because there's a market for it. I'm not saying Pastor Enenche is performing fake miracles, but assuming but not conceding. If Pastor Enenche is not performing fake miracles, the truth is there are a lot of churches that comes up with these fake miracles as a form of marketing. But then fake miracles are many because there's a market for it. People want miracles. Wherever there is miracle, that's where people want to go. So long as there's a market for something, people that are smart or people that can look in that direction will always create a product to kind of like suit that market or to exploit that market. And that is why we are having a lot of fake miracles all over the place. What I can say is always serve God and not man, because man is not God. If you are seeking the face of God, definitely whatever you are seeking for, God can do it for you by your own faith. So grow your faith with God. But most people, especially in Nigeria, they serve man and not God. You will see people that cannot prostrate to greet their father. You see women that cannot kneel down to greet their husband. When they get to church, they will be the first to kneel down with their two legs and be saying, "Oh, our Father in the Lord, daddy, daddy, daddy." You know, so some people cannot reason right without hearing from their pastor. So what I can say is serve God and not man, because man is not God. So long as you are particular about man instead of you facing God, you may end up being scammed with fake miracles. So the thing is, what I can say on a final note is that who called your pastor? Is it God or is it unemployment? Who called your pastor? Is it God or the high social status, the respect that is attached to religion in Nigeria? Whatever church you attend, who called your pastor? Is it God or the profitability of Christianity in Nigeria, because Nigerians are very spiritual people? So who called your pastor? Look in that regard. Look at your pastor carefully. Maybe you can pick one or two things about who called your pastor and act right accordingly. Overall, build a relationship with God. And I just hope that Pastor Abraham Daniel and Pastor Paul Enenche can resolve their differences, and at the end of the day, may the Christian community begin to work stronger and truly walk in the way of the Lord Jesus Christ. It's been an interesting time with you on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola Deji. Dr. Deji is a political scientist with a PhD in political science, and this is where we relax to dissect politics and happenings in the polity. Do want to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course, I have great interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.